Hey, welcome to the 718th episode of the Sales Podcast. I'm Wes Schaefer, the Sales Whisperer, your host. Today we have Mike Pritchett. He founded a company, big company, 32 sales and marketing people on the team, 150 plus staff. And after 8 years, it got to him. He sold it. He hung out for a bit and did not like being retired and is starting something new. So we get into the lessons learned of growing a company, selling a company, finding a new calling, and how to grow in today's crazy, hectic world. We get into outbound calling, inbound calling, email, AI, and he's got a lot of lessons learned. So you're in for a treat. Okay. In this episode, towards the end, he talked about how he kind of dabbled in coaching and consulting, and he said it wasn't his jam. He likes building stuff, running teams. And I find that interesting. I like coaching and consulting, and I'd rather not run teams. Along those lines, right? That's why I have my inner circle. I'll link to that. That's why I have a new offering with the 12 weeks to peak. We call it the VIP, and that's for one-on-one help, daily accountability for 12 weeks. Check that out, vip.12weekstopeak.com. I'll link to that in the show notes. But if you join that, you get access to the inner circle for a year, and you can renew the 12 weeks to peak, and you can renew annually in the inner circle at half price. So that's a little perk I'm throwing in there. And same thing with the inner circle. If you join for a year, you can renew at half off. So avail yourself of that, right? If you're not sure if it's right, there's a link on those pages to my calendar, and we can talk about it and see how I might be able to help. Look around the internet. There's no 1-star reviews on me strong arming, belittling, hard closing, pressuring people into anything. It's not my style. I've been in sales since 1997 and put food on the table for a family of 9 and 2 crazy dogs because I just do things right, and I teach you how to do it right. Okay. So avail yourself of that, right? Hop over to those and let me see how I can help you. We can work together. And after you do that, come back and listen to this episode with Mike. Mike Pritchett sold the big company, starting the new company from Australia, London, a man of many homes, many talents. Welcome to the Sales Podcast. How the heck are you?
Thank you, Wes. I am very well. I'm very well indeed. Good to be here.
I noticed something. I think it's an Aussie thing. That's how I know you're Aussie. It's because y'all call me Wes. Are
Okay.
S's Z's in Aussie land?
Did I go for Wes? It's yeah, fair. They are. No, yes.
I know.
Yeah,
Hey, I'm fine with it.
Wes, fair enough. Well,
Yeah,
if you come down to
like
Australia,
Canadians. It's like Canadians out and about and house.
Yeah, and Australians, it's also the D's in things like water instead of water. And now that I've moved to London, one needs to up their game on pronunciation, and it's water, not water. So it's
water. Oh yeah.
Water.
Do you have to raise your chin when you say that?
Absolutely. I just put a couple of plums in my mouth and off we go.
Do they drink tea in Australia, or do y'all say stick it up your butt and drink Foster's?
We certainly don't drink Foster's. That's one thing I can guarantee. No Aussie ever
I know. I love
in their right mind. Well, we drink plenty of beer, but no Foster's.
I know. It's like Budweiser. It's well popularized, but I can't remember ever ordering a Budweiser on purpose. If you hand me one, I'll drink it. But I don't order it.
It's funny, actually. Speaking of sales and marketing, during the 2000 Olympics, I just thought, what on earth is this? Every billboard in Sydney was packed with Foster's ads, whereas Australian as Foster's and all this sort of stuff. And every Australian just said, I've never once seen this advertised here. And then, because they don't advertise it in Australia, they don't bother. We don't drink it. Yeah. They just advertise it to the rest of the world as the Australian drink.
It's it's so many things. Corona isn't the best beer in Mexico, but it's marketed. And watch purists will say I don't own a Rolex, but it's the best marketed. So
yeah.
So maybe we can talk about that. Do you need a great product to win in sales? I guess you don't, huh?
No, you just got to win in sales, right? You got to win in sales and marketing helps. Obviously, people buy from people, and if you got the best best story, you can sell it, right?
So you were telling me before we hit record. I mean, you'd built up a business. What'd you say? You had 32
Uh,
salespeople?
yeah, we had 32 in sales and marketing combined. We had 150 in the team all up. We were in 7 countries,
Mm,
a whole bunch of
dang.
time zones, and a whole bunch of headaches for me.
Mm. I hear that a lot. Um, People dream they're going to make it big, and then I talk to people who are like, I want to make it small.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's interesting on that same note with funding, right? You speak to people that go, I just want to get funding. I just want to get funding. And then they get funding and they meet a founder that bootstrapped and they go, well, at least you own it, right?
Yeah. So what we're going to get into what you're doing now in a minute, but what did you not like about running a big team? Because I mean, a lot of people listening to this are entrepreneurs. Maybe they're part of a big team. I'm going to do my own, and now here
Hmm.
you are making a huge shift. Um, I mean, you were the CEO and founder, right?
Yeah.
So what's
Yeah.
wrong
Look,
with
I
being in
think,
charge? You got 150 people. I'm the boss.
yeah, there
I mean,
does get a stage where you're not in the grit anymore. I think as a CEO founder or a founder, ditch the CEO part. If you're a founder in there getting things done, that spark of that startup dream and the excitement of every little bit counts and every little move makes a big shift. And then after a while you go, okay, well, revenue's going up, things are flat. And I think, let's be honest, most founders then just get the hand grenade and throw it in there to cause drama because we all live and die by the adrenaline. And that's something that
mm,
I did as well and caused all sorts of challenges in my own business. When I look back at it now, at the time, they seem like great ideas. The reality is, I think the spark and the energy of small startup and building is a lot more exciting than hey, do we hire another person in the HR team to look after the team that look after the team that look after the people that may
yeah,
eventually be the ones doing the hustling.
yeah, yeah. I can see that because I think I'm more in the startup mindset. Hungry. My my son turned my wife and me onto this HBO series called The Pit.
Hmm.
And it's about ER doctors, and and there's 15 shows, and it was literally 15 hours. So it was like starting their shift, and of course there's an incident, so they work overtime. So it was 15 hour shift in an ER, in a super chaotic ER. And I'm watching that. Like, a friend of mine's a radiologist, and so we text all the time, and I'm busting his balls. I'm like, look at you just lounging around, go in, look at some pictures, go home. He's like,
It's
yes,
not
I
it.
love it that way. And I'm
Yeah.
like, I think I'd be an ER doc. It's like,
Yeah.
let's go, go, go. Shift's over. I'm going home. Don't call me. I'll be back when my shift's on.
And there's a level of that with startup life that it is just pure energy and rush. When it's on, it's on. And that's exciting. When you win a client, there's that excitement and that buzz and nothing beats that adrenaline rush of got a massive client, big win, celebrate it, let's go after the next. Once you've got spreadsheets in front of you and you're working to targets that are set for at where they are for one reason or another, and then you've got to live up to them, and you've got other people that you're working to and the board that you promised XYZ. It's a bit of a different beast. And I think any founder that's taken on large amounts of money as well, like I pretty much bootstrapped my last company. It wasn't well funded, so that was fine. But if you're in that VC freight train, you're effectively just chasing the next exit for them, or the next valuation.
Yeah. So you sold that, what, 2 years ago now, huh? 2 years ago this month.
Yeah, 2 years ago. So it's good to be out. It's good to be out and moving on to the next thing. Had the obligatory time off, sit on the beach, stare at your navel, start selling beach chairs if you sit on the beach for too long. So it was on to what could we do next? And for me, I've had a bunch of ideas and concepts that have always been rattling around my head, but AI voice for me, I'm into podcasting and that scene, and the AI voice was interesting to me, but I sat there and I go, oh, it's a gimmick. It's a gimmick. Who's going to listen to an AI podcast? And then I started to look at the voices and think they're getting pretty realistic. What is here that we can actually do that's meaningful? right? And then once we got to the conversational stage, I went, okay, so what can we do here that's meaningful? And, I don't think the meaningful side of that is going and cold calling the world with another bloody bot. There's got to be some purpose to what this can do. And that's what I've been really leaning into and building with BuzzTrail.
Yeah. Well, and that meaningful, I think, is a key word. I'm still old school. Every day, at least 10 times a day, I mark as spam and block the cold emails. And I know they're cold because it's amazing how influential LinkedIn is. Because I have a dash in my name that I put years ago. I put a red phone in my name just to stand out on LinkedIn. That's how I discovered it. So then I toned it down, just put a dash after Wes. So I get all these cold DMs, cold emails. Hi, Wes Dash. And constant drips inside of LinkedIn messaging. And today I unfollowed and removed the connection of a guy. I look back like over 3 years. He just sent nothing but hi West Dash, and been listening, reading your content, just really inspired me to reach out. It's like,
Yeah, no, you didn't.
you lie,
Yeah,
you lie, and I'm just done. I'm done with the fake.
yeah,
So
absolutely.
how are you different? What are you doing differently with voice AI?
Well, we got a
What do I need to
special,
know?
we got a special thing in there that was going to take the dash out, and it's going to call you Wes instead of Wes, right? So
That's right. You're
that's how
gonna
you know it's real.
take the dash out, take the S out, put a Z, and I'm gonna know it's you.
Nice. That's what we do. No. Look, AI is incredible and can do amazing things and horrible things, and can speed things up and can slow things down and can confuse things as well, right? But when it comes to AI voice automation and AI voice phone calls, what are we doing and what are we focusing on? The goal for us is to work with clients where there's either a real need where clients are inbound. I think inbound is the absolute holy grail for AI voice, right? And you're thinking, well, hang on, if I call up, I want to speak to a real human. Sure, but what are you getting at the moment? From most SaaS companies, from most healthcare companies, you're getting either
For most
nope.
companies, hi, your call is very important to us. Please stay on the line as our menu has changed. Like, has your menu changed every day for the last 17 years? It's
Yeah,
unbelievable.
exactly. And why do I care that your menu's changed? I don't want a menu. I want to just be speaking to somebody and get a result and move on. And I think the other thing is that most SaaS companies these days aren't even publishing a phone number anywhere, so you can't get in touch. Full stop. But if you do have a
Yeah.
phone number, then you're on hold for hours, et cetera, et cetera. So what we're working on is getting rid of that, getting rid of those annoying IVR systems that you go through, press this, press that, or end up in some matrix that leads you down a path that you didn't want to go down, or you get stuck. What we're talking
Yeah.
about is you call up, you're speaking to what feels like a human being. Now, can you probably tell? Sure. But it's way better than sitting on hold for 2 hours and getting through to a person that's been sitting there having a bad day at a call center somewhere else in the world. That's not a great experience at all. And then when you actually ask the person the question, they don't have that knowledge to hand, whereas AI does.
Yeah.
It has that knowledge to hand ready to go.
Yeah. So that's your focus is
That's our
inbound?
focus, yeah, and mostly inbound. We are doing outbound, yeah, sure, but the outbound as well is where we can have it for our clients. It's warm outbound, right? So let's take an event, for example. Perfect use case. You've got a large conference. There's thousands of people coming. The most nerve-wracking time for an event manager is the lead up to that event, that week, going, well, we were told 1,000 people are coming, but there were a bunch of free tickets. There was some charge. We don't know. So let's just assume maybe 70% are coming. Maybe it's 80. We don't know. If you could call them 3 days before the event and just say, hey, just calling up to see if there's any other information that you want to know, making sure that you've got tickets ready, everything's come through, and they can have a human conversation. So, yeah, no, we're all sorted. Oh, by the way, is there good coffee? Is there going to be, and it can actually give information of the event that's useful to the customer. And it's extremely useful to the client that is sitting there going, how many people are going to turn up to my event?
And is that better than text?
Yeah, I think so. It's interaction. It's back and forth. It's an actual conversation. If I get a text that says, just reminder of next week's event, I move on. If I get a phone call and they say, hey, just wanting to double check you're all sorted for the event on Wednesday, if there's anything else you need, I can very quickly just say, yep, I'm all sorted, or no, I'm probably not coming, or look, I'm not sure. And all of that data is then analyzed, gone through and sent into the client, broken out into either a spreadsheet or put into their CRM, so they know exactly the response they got and the intent behind it as well.
Do people answer? I mean, just before we kick this off, I got a text from my dentist. I got a cleaning tomorrow, and I confirmed. I probably wouldn't answer. I don't need a phone call. And they don't need a phone call either, right? Like, are you coming or not? I mean, because obviously they'll give away my spot if I have to reschedule.
Yeah, true.
But then I don't answer. I mean, I rarely answer my phone. I keep getting. I've been getting a call regularly, so I answered it just before this, and there's nobody there.
Yeah.
So I just put them on mute and go about my business, and about a minute later they hang up. So maybe it's farming to see if my number's valid or whatever. But I mean, I get that a lot.
Yeah.
That's why I don't answer my phone very much. And a lot of people don't answer their phones anymore.
Yeah, there are a lot of people that don't answer their phones, which is totally fair. I think if you're reaching out with email, you're reaching out with text message for an event that they've registered to, they may respond back. I personally don't spend the time to respond to emails. Emails to me, I go in and I go, especially anything unsubscribe, I actually select the entire inbox, I hit delete, and then I move on with my day with a very quick scan down for any names I recognize. So that's dead. WhatsApp to me, I use and I look at WhatsApps. We can do WhatsApp messages as well, but I think the point of an actual phone call, especially on the inbound level, having somebody to just pick it up, have that conversation, rewire that through to a human being if it's relevant, triage it. And also on a sales point of view, to be able to go through things like the BANT framework or any of the other frameworks for that matter. But on BANT, just very simply just saying you've got the budget, you've got the authority, you've got the need, and you've got the timeline, and then putting a time in an AE's diary for a demo. But the time comes through and it says, okay, Wes is booked in a time. I got it right that time. Wes is booked in a time, and it's. Hey,
I'm not saying you say it wrong. You say it right.
I say it right for an Aussie.
Says it.
Right for an Aussie.
It's all good.
I shared an office with a Wes for like so long, and I never thought that I sounded like I'm saying Z at the end until you said it now. But so the calendar appointment goes through, and it's actually got all of that filled out. Yes, budget X, authority yes, need, timeline.
Yeah. So again, I mean, you're focused on inbound, and I think that's fine. Does the system say that it's AI or no?
Yeah, so we always like to call it out. For us, we call it out. It's up to the client. If they don't want to say anything, that's totally fine. And a lot of the time you wouldn't know. In fact, I was joking around. I'm going to build an agent. I better make sure my mum doesn't watch this sales podcast, but I'm going to build an agent to call my mum and just see if I can get away with like a 45-minute conversation without her knowing it's not me. I think I can do it. Because we record our own voices in. I think I can get away with it, but mostly that's just going to be because she's talking for 45 minutes.
Our parents are trusting. Our parents are trusting, right? And
this is true.
Obviously they're a generation removed, so they're not quite as deep into this. And look, that's why older people get snookered. My mother-in-law, she just passed away a couple months ago. My wife is the I forget the technical term, estate trustee or whatever for a neighbor. She just passed, or her husband passed a couple years ago. Now she did. And so we're in her house, like looking things up. And my father-in-law was helping her, right? And he's like, can you help me? He couldn't do any work on her computer because all these notifications come up because everybody, click here to be notified, of this blog or whatever. So she would just by default accept all these things. So I'm in there just turning notifications off, showing them how to do it. But my mother-in-law, she had subscriptions to everything, man. Mm-hmm. And she was a smart woman. Mm. She had been in business for years and did contract and stuff for a big health plan out here, but she still fall for stuff.
Mm. And that is a problem, right? And this is going to happen regardless across every different avenue of technology. People are finding, and even without technology, they're finding ways to put things in the post and send it out to you with things, which is almost now the easiest way to trick people because they go, well, at least this is real. It's a piece of paper. It's like, well, it's not, right? And unfortunately, those scams keep going on. And I'm hoping there's more tech that helps people out to avoid them. But I think on the AI voice side of things, it's like everything else. It sounds like a human, sure, but so does an email when you're getting it through, or a letter in the mail, right? And so it is that level of, is it real or not? There's going to be a lot of education, I think, for people to realize, is it real or not? I believe it's always good to call it out, and definitely for our AI agents, everything we put out, we say, "Hi, I'm an AI voice assistant calling from X. Just wanted to follow up about blah," and then people know, right? Which also takes away any level of, which I find hilarious when people say, "Ooh, I want to test it out." And they go, "Ooh, there was this tiny little bit at the 3-minute mark where I think I could tell it wasn't perfect." And he's like, have you ever actually had a conversation with a rep? Because no rep sounds perfect up to 3 minutes. They're umming and ahhing or distracted or delayed or whatever it might be. So, if you're getting to 3 minutes or even to 3 seconds with an AI rep and not being, convinced that it sounds great, then you're in a pretty good spot.
Yeah. So on the outbound, are they making cold calls or is it more confirming things?
Look, like I said, it is totally up to the client. So we can do complete outbound cold call to people. Personally, for me, I just find the success rate, most cold calling success rate's pretty low, right? You get to a point in cold calling where unless your list is absolutely perfect, people have opted in or whatever that might be, it's not great. There are obviously laws as well around B2C, especially B2B. It's a little bit looser. You're allowed to call B2B. B2C, don't be calling people at home that aren't on an opt-in list. It's just wrong, right? And it's not allowed. It's quite simple. So we don't do anything like that. If we're talking B2B, cold calling out to other businesses that are relevant target markets, that's fine, but call it out straight away. And same way I would if I'm and I started out as an SDR, and I would always call and say, I didn't have an iPhone, that's for sure. I'd always call and say, 20 years ago, I'm just calling. I'm a salesperson calling about X. Hope you don't mind, but if you can give me 30 seconds, it's that opt-out factor, like very clearly giving them an opportunity to say, no, I don't have time, bye, rather than pretending it's not a sales call. And that's the same that I'd call out for AI. Call it out. It's a sales call or it's a call about X and I'm AI. Do you mind giving me 30 seconds? Always good to add humor in there as well. If you can make a joke, the AI, you feel like if you can make them laugh, at least you might get them on for 30 seconds.
Yeah. Hell, I was using rotary phones when I started calling.
Yeah. That's a little different from speed dialers. So I think I at
We had
least had a
faxes and
touch one,
pagers.
but,
I rode my horse, Pony Express.
Well, strangely enough, we're working with a client in Germany at the moment, and I almost fell off my chair when they said a lot of their information still goes out via fax. And this is 2 days ago I had that conversation. I said, go out by fax? And they said, yep, we're working with medical and doctors, German. I was like, okay, whatever it takes.
Okay. Whatever it takes. So what does it take to start a business today? So this is what, 2 years old, 3 years old?
No, this business is in market for 3 months, but up and running for a year. I started a year ago.
How did you find the inspiration? Like, how'd you know this was a good venture, pathway to go down?
Yeah, great question. And I actually coach other entrepreneurs on this as well, as how do you find out, is it a good business? Is it just a passion? Is it something you're excited about? For me, it's very much about, does it excite you to start with? First, start with that. Are you passionate about it? Are you interested and engaged by it? If it were to actually succeed, would you want that job? Right. That's a great place to start. Once you've done that, it's about, exploring the market and looking at the numbers. Like what can this be charged for? Therefore, what's your profit margin at the end? Is there a market there that can service that and get to the level of scale that you'd need to make a profit in a business like that. And those very simple business questions is just a spreadsheet. So I actually find one of the most creative spaces. I love creativity. This is my painting my daughter and I did behind me here. I love painting. I love art, and one of the most creative places I think you can be is an Excel spreadsheet. You get to paint the future and go, here's my forecast. This is what the world could look like. This is what this business could look like. How can I, and of course, I'm not talking about creative accounting in the other sense. I'm talking about forecasting. Let's dream. Let's go, what if we did have 4 million clients on this? What if we did have, whatever that number might be? What does that business look like? And some businesses you look at and go, oof, if we got thousands of clients, this business would be a nightmare, right? And that's just the reality for a lot of businesses, but they don't do the forecast. They just get to the nightmare and go, oh, what did I do? And so for me, having had businesses in the past, successful and unsuccessful, I look back and go, this business, when it scales, is a dream.
All right. So why AI? Just, you think it's here to stay?
I think it's definitely here to stay. I think in the same way, computers, tech, internet, all of these things as they came online, automobiles, manufacturing, the whole thing. You look at those evolutions that happen. I think it's in an excitement bubble that everyone's excited about it and talking about it, and no one can get away from it. In the same way that plenty of things in the past were when they first came out, and everyone was amazed by the iPhone, and then there's other iPhones and there's other Samsung and other things. The excitement will die down. I think the underlying impact will be huge, positive and negative. I think there's definitely negatives there. There'll be job losses and other things, but that happens in every single cycle that we go through, and this one will be no different. Or it will be very
because it is. Yeah. So because it is new and there's a lot of hype, it's like, do you want to be bleeding edge? Do you want something to be more mature? Do you think, is it riskier to be early, or is it less risky to be early?
Yeah, I think early is as good as late. And I think bleeding edge is a challenge versus leading edge. I think for my last business, I was at the exact right time at the right place. And we lent into AI 5 years ago plus, and built products around it back then. I don't think it's bleeding edge right now. I think where we're at, there are still problems, but it's leading edge with a lowercase L that's going to a bigger case L, or there's like a trailing little case B, whatever you might want to put it. There are still challenges. There are still hurdles. There are things that fall over. And I think that's fine. I think we're at a stage where most businesses are wanting to experiment and lean in. And if they don't lean in now, at least to learn and test what works for them, I think companies are going to fall behind.
So you're looking around, you're staring at your navel, getting sunburned, and you go, AI is it. What's your first move? Did you hire an overseas developer?
What I did, very first practical move that I did, I said, AI is it. Let's find what communities are out there that are big into AI. Now, I knew enough about AI and enough about product. I'm not a tech guy. I'm more a product guy. I got the vision of where I want it to be, and then I can build a team around that. So I was like, where is that team? Where can I find the right people? And I actually jumped onto a WhatsApp community here in London, found a bunch of techs and entrepreneurs and other devs that were just chatting about everything, stuff that I had no idea about, stuff that I did have an idea about. And I would just scroll through that group and then look at who's on it. And I just put community questions out there. And when certain people came back with really great answers, I just connected on the side and said, hey, I see you're on this group, we should chat. And I just jumped on calls and got to know people. And then one of those people actually said, hey, love the idea of what you're thinking about. And that stage, it was actually a different concept within the voice space, a different concept altogether. And he said, look, I love the idea of what you're talking about. Let's see if we can work together. I could help spin something up. And he did. And we started working together for a few months on that until I realized, hang on, this is more achievable on a conversational level than the product we were building. It's also a lot bigger scale if we can get into the business of inbound phone calls and outbound where necessary. So that's where, I said, let's rock and roll. Let's build something. And we've built that platform. Now we're not building the LLM behind, right? We're like everyone else, relying on big tech that's out there already that have spent billions of dollars. And we can switch between all of them as we choose to. So that means very quickly, if something does change and OpenAI does something incredible or Google does something incredible, well, our client benefit from that rather than us sitting here going, oh, sorry, we've got to do another round of funding to go and chase something we're never going to beat. So that's the position we're in at the moment. And what we're really offering is how to then build all the other elements around it, the integrations into those systems that give you the calendar appointments, the CRM integrations, being able to transfer calls, all that sort of fun stuff. Actually making it useful and done for you.
So is it safe to say, I mean, are you kind of building a wrapper?
Yeah,
And
a big part of it's a wrapper. A big part of it's a wrapper, and it's not just a wrapper to say, "Hey, this is the same thing. Let's just put a cloak on it. It looks different." It's then what can you do with that? That's different. So take Perplexity for example. Perplexity is a wrapper, right? And it's a huge business. It's a fantastically successful business. I use it all the time. It's fantastic. But they're not building their own LLM. They're not stupid. They're going, hang on, all the LLMs work like this. We could use them to work like this. And then they've gone and built Perplexity. So, in the same way, I think most of the businesses in the future are going to be relying on some way, shape, or form on the big models that are out there, and then building on top of them, which is almost kind of like saying, "Oh, hang on, are you just an e-commerce business?" As in, you're relying on the internet, and therefore it's like, well, yeah, of course I'm relying on the internet. That's where my business is held. That's where everything lives. But we're doing something different, right? And that's where I think there's a lot of value for entrepreneurs moving forward as well. It's not easy. It's not easy to spin something up. Everyone has this idea of kind of going, oh, but you can spin something up over a weekend, and on Monday you're an entrepreneur and you've got a business. You're like, no, you're not. Like, even if you do get a product away by Monday, which you won't, if you happen to get a prototype up, it'll fall over pretty quickly under scrutiny. But if you do manage to build a product, which is great, we all know the next part is understanding sales and marketing and market generation and actually building a team to go and deliver that.
Yeah. So what do you say to the purists, because people, they want to build the next iPhone, right? Or next Apple kernel and, build it up from its core versus just build a wrapper.
Mm-hmm.
Where I live, there's like 50 wineries, and one of the big ones is called Wilson Creek. And I know the founders, the Wilsons, and, the second generation is running it now. And we have a big balloon and wine festival out here that coming up this, I think maybe next week, 2 weeks. It's always in June. And, Wilson Creek, they have a huge balloon shaped like their almond champagne. And I just learned a few years ago that they white label that. They don't even make it.
Yeah.
So what they're
if it's
famous
actual
for,
champagne, they can't make it because it has to come from the Champagne region. But
yeah,
and this is one of those
right.
things as well, branding and everything.
But look, we're ugly Americans. We say we'll call it champagne and say, come over here and fight us. But I digress.
Fair.
So it's sparkling whatever. It's
Yeah,
sparkling juice.
yeah.
And it's cheap. They sell it. They sell it at the place, but like you can literally go to Costco or Sam's Club right here in town and buy it for like $10 or $11 a bottle.
Yeah.
But I mean, what they are known for is something that they just put a wrapper on and market. Now they do make some of their own wines.
Yep.
But
and you look at that with anything. So you say, oh, I love Ford motor cars, right? And you go, great, excellent. So let's break it apart, and once you actually break it apart, they're just a wrapper. Like they're just, Ford might be a bad example and somebody's going to get very offended by this. But, effectively you pull apart a car. A lot of them are built by the same manufacturers and the same bits and pieces in the back end. Might actually be Ford doing that for a lot of the others. That's okay. But then you take a TV, right? I love Samsung. No, I love Sony. Okay, well, they're the same thing, right? Once you actually break it down to the factory and where those parts came from. I got a friend that's very, very wealthy in the US that their entire business, I was so jealous because effectively, if you break it down, once again, all they did was take a product from China, bring it into the US, which now it's going to get taxed, but they then
as
sell
it should.
Yeah, well, everything will get taxed, And then they just sell it, right? And that's all they're doing. And when you look at any business, it's like a game of football. You break it down. What have you got? Well, you got a bunch of men or women dressed in laundry with a ball, trying to get it over a line. Okay, cool. So that's pretty stupid. Well, it's not. Once you actually bring it together, there's so much amazing stuff going on there, right? But when you rip anything apart, and I think this is what people are trying to do with AI, is go, that's just a wrapper. You're like, yeah, okay, cool. And a baker is just somebody that gets a bunch of flour and water and makes bread, but the bread's amazing and it's put into a coffee shop and or a shop, and people go there and smell it and love it, and they have their bread there, right? So yeah, this is one of those things that any business, I think, when you pull it apart, it's very, very simple. It's about how you put those parts together, how you serve the customer, and the experience that you can give that customer in working with you. Can you make it simple? Can you make it what they want? Can you solve their pain point? If you can, you got a business, right? Doesn't matter if it's built on the back of flour and water or AI and a bunch of other components brought in to make it happen.
Yeah. I was in the tech
Like it.
space for years, and that's when it dawned on me, like, you open up the guts of these computers and it's an Intel or an AMD chip. It's a, Seagate or Western Digital hard drive, and, NVIDIA graphics card. And like, they're
Yeah,
just assembling stuff.
yeah, they're just
We
assembling
just put it
stuff.
in a different form factor and, had our own operating system to control the things, but the guts were you lay them apart, you break them apart and lay them down. You're like, I don't know. Is that a Dell? Is that a Gateway? HP? I don't know.
Yeah, I had a guy on my podcast who has built a multi-billion-dollar company in the storage space, and we're talking online cloud storage, and they couldn't get hard drives fast enough. They ended up going down to the local store and just grabbing consumer hard drives, and we're plugging these things in. And so effectively, they're charging a person on the end to upload footage to go back to a thing they could have bought down the street, but it sits in their warehouse instead of yours, and they've got you on a
Yeah.
monthly contract. It's amazing. But it serves a purpose, and they then did triple back it up and all those sort of fun things. So they got a great business.
Right.
I think the key to any business is how do you save a customer time, and how do you solve their problem, right? And if you can make that experience pleasurable and have a nice graphical user interface, good service behind it. In our case, we're a done for you service, so we're not sitting here just going, "Hey, jump on our platform. It's the same as someone else's with a new funny face on it." We're actually doing that service for them, setting everything up, doing the numbers. We've got a human in the loop that's checking, making sure that the AI is not hallucinating, the calls are actually going through correctly, and fixing the prompts as well, which a lot of people jumping in there thinking they're prompt engineers because they put in how do I prompt engineer into Google or ChatGPT. So that's the key, is the team in the back end making it work smoothly.
Yeah. So you said a year ago you had the idea, but then you've been live for 3 months.
That's right.
So you just bootstrapped for those 9 months?
Yeah, bootstraps. Yeah, my goal is to not raise. My goal is just to bootstrap this one out. Fund it myself. But even then, I'm not. And whether it's a sort of an experiment for me as well. I did a little bit of business coaching, but when I between the two ventures, found it's not really my passion. It's not for me as much as I do enjoy it, and I think it's fantastic. And business coaches are awesome. I'm not one of them, so I went right. I'm going to get back in and play the game again, but. I want to do it from zero, because you hear so many excuses when people go, "Oh, yeah, well, it's good for some, but I've now got a family, or I've got this, or I could never do that because X, Y, Z." I thought, well, rather than just saying, "Well, it's good for me because I exited a company, so isn't that great?" I want to get in there and bootstrap it out.
Well, you had me on your podcast and you yelled at me and made me cry. So yeah, it's good you recognize it. You're not a coach, man. I mean, you're a mean coach. So I mean, there's something. Maybe there's a room for a mean coach, but I mean, just go develop some stuff, okay? So that's good. You found your lane. You're gonna edit that crying out, right? You
Oh, of
promised me.
course, of course.
You said you
Hang
would.
on, this is your podcast. You get to edit that.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So, but for 9 months, like who are you bringing on? I mean, are these software developers? Are they AI
Yeah, so
experts?
so
Like
everything
how
in
big
my
was the
world so
team?
far has been AI and AI engineers and developers, and now on the customer success side, where we've got a person on the customer, one other, and myself on the customer success, and the rest is devs and engineers. So building out the platform, building out the back end, and then a lot of time. Even though people go, "Hey, it's easy to integrate into HubSpot, Salesforce, all this other stuff," that takes a lot of work just to get things right. So that's been the main part of our work at the moment. And I think the future development of what I'm building is going to be salespeople. It's, what I do know very well from my previous venture is that enterprise sales motion and how to put that flywheel in again. And, you could laugh and say, well, hang on, can't you just get BuzzTrail to call the world? Like I said, I don't think boiling the ocean with a million calls out to people in their mobile phones is the answer. I think the answer is still smart marketing, good salespeople, people to people, and then using BuzzTrail as an engine to be able to make that more efficient and make the salespeople's time efficient. Sitting there just dialing number after number after number doesn't work regardless. But if someone's calling inbound, you better damn well make sure that someone picks up that phone at all hours of the day. And that means having an AI available after hours on the lunch break. The amount of times I've heard of leads going unmet and then not called back. And then you look in the system, you go, why did nobody call back Sue? Oh, it was a private email address. So, I was just busy and I assumed it was nothing. Like, yeah, well, Sue
Hmm.
happens to be the VP of whatever at wherever, and you missed it.
How soon do you foresee having your first, one or two or three salespeople?
I think within the next few months. Yeah, we're looking to hire next month. I'm always looking for salespeople, but yeah, I think within the next few months.
And like, what will you have them do day one?
Day one, to be honest, is make sure they know the tools that they can work on. So we use things like Clay, for example. We use HubSpot as our CRM. So just making sure they're across the tools. And then, to be honest, it's going to be getting on and calling. I always like people to start with their network and go, who do you know? Right? Like just give them a call, practice, jump on the phone, call people. They're the worst people to call. Just sell them the product and have a chat. You're going to stuff it up anyway, so go for it. And then from that point, we have a database, so there will be cold calls happening without a doubt for SDRs. But my goal is, hopefully, fingers crossed, we get our email marketing correct and our LinkedIn marketing correct, and we get those inbounds in, so that an AE is spending most of their time in meetings that are booked with BuzzTrail.
For the outbound, like you say, you have a database. Like, where'd that come from?
So we've built up a database from buying mostly Cognism data. So Cognism data to our target market. I think one of the most sort of obvious spaces for this is insurance companies, insurance brokers, finance brokers that have inbound that they're missing because they're on other calls or doing other things. And also when people call them, it's often the same question. Okay, great. Can I ask you about X, Y, Z? It's prescriptive. They've pretty much just got a form they're filling out. That can very easily be done and triaged by AI. So my goal is to target in on that market and build it out. Therapeutics has been a space as well. Health and therapeutics has been a space that we've had success already, and event companies.
Nice. Yeah. That's cool.
That's who
Very nice.
we're
So
going after.
what's that?
That's who we're going after.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it's good to have it dialed down because, I talk with people like, I don't know where to start or how to start. People don't answer the phone. Where do I get good data? Should I call a cell phone? Like, am I allowed to call a cell phone? And do I leave a voicemail? Like, what are your thoughts on that?
I love leaving a voicemail personally. I think it adds up sort of like a credit, right? If you leave a voicemail and then you leave another one, now don't keep calling and calling and calling. If they're not calling you back, they're not calling you back. Leave it alone. But if you're leaving a voicemail, 2, maybe 3 times, if it is a specific person that is relevant, once again, when they say call mobiles, absolutely, I will go for the mobile every single day of the week over a landline personally. And if I get through to them, that's fantastic. I'm always calling someone, though, that I believe it's a relevant product for. right? If I'm just calling random people, why would I do that, right? So I want to know my exact target market. I want to know my value proposition. I want to know that it's relevant to that person and the pain that I'm solving, and then I can call. And there are cool tools out there. I saw one recently called Glyphic, which is a really interesting tool about helping you refine that down and get the exact science on why this particular person wants to buy. I love that sort of stuff, but you can also get lost in the science, to be honest. If you're talking about
Yeah.
startups, I'd just say just find a list, buy a list. Places like Cognizant are fine, great place to start. You can do Clay and all sorts of stuff to refine things down, but get a list that you can call and hit the phone. And then you're really just making sure that you're adding value. And on a sales pitch, for me, it is always starting with, hey, Mike here calling from BuzzTrail. I hope you don't mind me calling you out of the blue, but I think this is relevant for you. Do you have 30 seconds? And most of the time people will go on, you've got exactly 30. Give me your elevator pitch. Let's go. And then they've opened the door and they've allowed you to have the elevator pitch. You better damn well know your elevator pitch, and you better do it really quickly.
Yep. Yeah.
and don't stay concise.
Will you text somebody cold? Or like after a
I've never
voicemail,
tried it.
send a text, or send a text, hey, I'm about to call?
I've never tried it unless somebody has connected with me on WhatsApp. Then I've WhatsApped. And I don't know how it is in the US, but most areas, especially through Asia where I lived for 5 years, and here WhatsApp is everything. In fact, like, don't bother communicating any other way but WhatsApp. And so that's something I've done, but I've never actually text messaged someone, to be honest, just out of the blue. Do you find it works?
I'm wondering, like, what's that?
Do you find it works?
I don't have. It's not done much to me. Almost nobody leaves. I don't get many inbound calls, cold calls. I get a handful, almost no texts. But if I have someone's cell phone, I will leave a voicemail message and send a text right behind it.
Yeah, okay. I like that.
And you can maybe test the other way of sending the text first and saying you're about to call. I tell people, like, if I'm just chatting with somebody, hey, I'm gonna give you a call, and I don't have their number, I'm like, text me before you call,
Yeah, okay.
or I won't answer.
Yeah.
But I've also learned relatively recently that, and it makes sense that, when you text from a CRM, the text is green. Whereas, you text from your iPhone and go into an iPhone, it'll be that blue message. So there's more success with that. But the problem, obviously, as a company, that doesn't scale, and you have no history. So that's a bit of a catch-22 in that regard. And
yeah, it's interesting. I like it. Following up and thinking back, I do that on WhatsApp. If I can get somebody, like last night, I was at a networking event. My question will always be, are you on WhatsApp? And they go, yeah. And I go, great, excellent. Let's just, for me, and I always just say, for me, that's just super easy. I lose emails, and phone calls are more difficult. Can we just do WhatsApp? Yep. And I'll always just send them a WhatsApp and give them a call. So that works well, but that's a contact that I've made, right? As opposed to, hey, I just found this number.
So one thing I've been working on is a little lightweight CRM, like for I'm calling it the pre-CRM.
Oh, yeah.
Because I'm a HubSpot partner and user, and been a Infusionsoft partner since 2008. But most of these platforms today, they have thresholds, right? Let's say you buy a list, you get 1,000 names, you get whatever, 5,000 names. Now you go over your threshold because you already have maybe 9,000. You get 2,000. Now you're at 11. Oh, the threshold's 10. Now you pay more. But out of all those, that 2,000 you just bought, there might be 20 deals that come out of that, and maybe 100 that you would stay in touch with over a year or so. And so, because I built an automation for doing the outbound and streamlining it and creating the cadence and the multimedia, assign the task, send the call, leave a voicemail, send an email right behind that reinforces it, look them up on social media, complete the task, next step, 1 day, 2 day, whatever your cadence is. But that that outbound email is cold,
Mm.
right? So like if I acquired a list, and so how do you protect the, your IP reputation, your domain reputation from sending a cold? It's a one-off, but it's still automated and it's
Yeah.
cold.
Yeah.
So that's something I'm
Yeah, I like the pre-CRM
tackling right
idea
now.
because I have had that challenge where you go, I don't need all of these contacts in my CRM, but I've got
Yeah,
to load them in somewhere to send all the emails out. And then
right.
all of a sudden, we started at my last company at 100. We started at free for HubSpot, as you do. And I was so excited instead of Salesforce, and that was great. Uh, but then we ended up spending 120,000 a year on HubSpot. And it was just because the company grew. And now, okay, I was fine. We were turning over 20 million. It's not the end of the world, but it was a lot of money looking back that we didn't need to spend because most of the data in there was probably rubbish, as opposed to just going, let's just cool our jets, bring it back to where it needs to be, and
Yeah,
go from.
they're smart, man. All these apps are sticky.
Yeah. Yeah, and
You
and
know.
expensive as well.
Yeah.
Salesforce, don't get me started, but that's ridiculously expensive, and the large companies are spending huge amounts of money, but you're trapped, you can't get out. So, look, I think on a business model, yeah, if you can find a way to help that out and be a part of that, and I love it.
Well, HubSpot is becoming Salesforce.
Yeah, it is, unfortunately, and there's a million coming up through the ranks that are then going to take HubSpot space. So,
Yeah, I mean, I literally I may keep it because I started as a partner and I got a great deal, and for me it made sense because they're great support and all, and it let me shift costs appropriately, and I resold it and made money, and then they changed the partner agreement plan, and then they keep increasing. But like I made a list here, like if I were to replace HubSpot, but it does a lot. If
mm,
you start looking at like lead pages or unbounce and quiz types tools and email marketing, and like I password protect some things, so I use it kind of as a hybrid membership site, in a way. But I'm just saying, like, how can I dumb things down? I want to keep it simpler and simpler and simpler, because back in
yeah,
the day, it was cool to be super advanced. If
yeah,
then, you were tagging, you know, on the email, did you click the top buy now button or the middle or the bottom, and
yeah,
I'm
yeah, yeah.
like, we don't need to know all that.
No,
you
it's too much,
know?
and especially now with AI as well. There's just too much information. There's word salad, right? You just got all these
Yeah.
words. You go, okay, give me the one line that I need to know, and I think we've got to remember always, people buy from people, and you've just got to spend as much time as you can in front of another human being to sell. And
Yeah.
and for me, with any business, and same with BuzzTrail. Ironically, yes, we're putting AI agents in there, but it's to get people in front of people, right?
Yeah.
Because if you can actually free up your time of your reps so that they're spending more time on phone calls, on video calls, in meetings, having coffee, having a beer, that's where deals are done. It's not done scrolling through data and mucking around with waiting for inbound calls or trying to chase outbounds. I think it's
Yeah.
it's about getting in front of people.
Cool. Well, I'm linking to your LinkedIn and to your site. So it's buzztrail.ai, right?
That is us. That is us indeed.
And
And
who do you
people
want
can.
reaching out? I mean, is it for bigger companies right now? Do you want like a real estate agent,
Yeah, yeah. So anywhere,
individuals?
anywhere from real estate agent up, I think realistically, it's a matter of, do you have an inbound challenge, and do you have a sales team that can work with a tool like this? And love to hear from you. And for any listeners that want to mention Wes, not Wes, but maybe just put in his WZ.
No, they have to do the Z.
You got to do the
It's
Z.
not
Drop
even
me a
Z,
Z
huh? It's
in a
Z.
message. Find me on LinkedIn. The link's there, and drop me a Wes with a Z, and we'll chat, and I'll offer you a better deal. But yeah, very keen to work with some of your listeners and see what we can offer them. But I think it's really about inbound challenges, and obviously we can do outbound. I don't want to promise something I can't deliver, and I feel the dream of, hey, we're just going to call everyone in America and suddenly we're billionaires is just not reality.
Yeah. Yep. Cool. Well, all right. Mike Pritchett, all the way from, you're in London, right?
I'm in London, sunny London. It's actually sunny right now. I'll take it while I can. So we're
sunny California. I got the palm tree right outside my window here. Come visit. I'll get you some Wilson Creek almond champagne.
Nice. I am in. Well, one of my main reps is in San Diego, and I might be across to Santa Monica soon for a conference. So we have a lot of work.
I'm in between the two. I got 2 daughters in San Diego, so if you come that way, let me know.
Very nice. I will indeed.
All
Thanks
right.
for having me on the
Good
Sales
to see
Podcast.
you.
It's always good fun.
Yeah, man. Thanks for coming on the show. Have a good day.
Cheers. You too.
Okay, so it is BuzzTrail.ai, not Buzzkill. Okay, no Buzzkill here. So BuzzTrail.ai. Mike's a good guy. I was on his podcast on Monday, which was 2 days ago. I like what he's doing. I like his approach. I like how he opens up and just honest, open and honest. I like that he's, declaring or disclosing that he's using AI. I have used a similar opener that he is talking about. I had Justin Michael on the Sales Podcast not too long ago, and he is a little more aggressive, a little more direct with his Outbound. Let me see if I can find that real quick. What episode was he on? But Justin calls those PBOs, right? Permission-based openings. Justin was on episode 664 that was published in July 27th of 24. And if you're on Spotify, I'll link to that episode from here. But Justin is a little more direct now, but he does say, Justin is in the trenches of cold calling, and the permission-based openers do still work. But you need to know your audience. You need to know yourself, your offering. You've got to be concise in how you open, how you deliver that punch, but your tonality, your volume, your pace, all of that matters. So you can make almost any opener work, but you've got to own it. Okay. Now, Justin's, go listen to episode 664. I like his approach. I have added that to my repertoire. I've added that into my objection handling workbook. That is part of my agenda setting template as well. You get all of that in the 12 weeks to peak. You get that in the inner circle. And I do that in one-on-one coaching. So if you need some help with your sales, with your marketing, with your thinking, you want some clarity, you want some accountability, then, let's talk. Like I said at the opening, vip.12weekstopeak.com. You can join right away, or you can schedule time to talk. You can do the same thing with the inner circle, right? Go check that out, and we'll see if it's right for you. Okay. But when you join 12 Weeks to Peak, not only do you get access to the inner circle for a year, you get access to everything else at half price when you renew. And I do the same with the inner circle. If you join for a year in the inner circle, your renewal is half off. But you can kick the tires week to week for up to 4 weeks. You can dip your toe in the water for a quarter. Okay. But the annual, folks, you get that 50% off of anything else that I do. Okay. So avail yourself of that. Let me help you grow. But like I said, I'll put the links in the show notes. But thanks for listening. I'll go sell something.